Okay. So we're going to go through a pretty gentle core exercise. This is an exercise that focuses predominantly on other aspects of the core besides this frontal area. So a lot of the times we think about the core and we think about like ab exercises like crunches and crunches, right? But when we think about the muscles of the torso and everything that goes into supporting our torso and everything that connects to it, the arms and the legs, there's just a lot more to consider. There's all the muscles of the shoulders, there's the muscles of the pelvis and the hips, the back, the side body. So we're going to be exploring a little bit more of those today. And we're going to use an elastic band, and we're going to use the elastic band in a loop formation. So if you already have an elastic band that is tied in a loop, you can go ahead and grab that. I'm going to take my elastic band here and tie it around my legs. And I find that like tying the elastic band around my legs kind of ends up giving it the size loop that I want. I like to tie it in a bow. I find that the bow holds really well, and then it's also relatively easy to untie compared to like doing a many square knots. All right. Once you have your elastic band tied in a bow, go ahead and set it off to the side. For now, we're going to do a couple little wrist warm-ups, and then we'll get right to the elastic band in a little bit. And I've gotten a block here just for a little extra support, resistance, and a little option to experiment at certain points in the practice. So if you have a block, great. If you don't have a block, don't even worry about it. You can just skip the block aspect of the movement. It'll be a great exercise for the muscles of your torso and connecting tissues anyways. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to interlace the fingers. I had to think about that a little bit. What are we going to do? We're going to interlace the fingers. We're going to do little wrist wriggles. Yep. Okay. And then we're going to flip those palms away. Alternatively, you could keep your palms facing you, but you're going to press your knuckles far, far away from you and reach your spine back between your shoulder blades here. So really hollowing out the front of your chest. Have a couple of breaths. Ooh, and then bring your hands together and wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And we're going to do that a couple times. Yeah. So this is going to be like kind of more moderate of an exercise routine. So if you've been doing a little bit more intense core exercises with me over the last months or so, this will be a good option to kind of like keep with that program, but kind of cool it off a little bit. Go ahead and stretch out your fingers, your shoulders again. Go ahead and bring your palms together. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. You could do a little roller coaster. If you're starting to rebuild mobility and strength after like a surgery, maybe after pregnancy, this would be a really good option for you. Go ahead and do that stretch last time. Couple breaths. This is actually going to be perfect for if you're pregnant too. You could totally do this at any stage of pregnancy. This would be a great routine to have throughout that period of your life. Okay, go ahead and start to lift your arms up, up, up over your head. And at a certain point, this might start to feel kind of tight in your shoulders. And when that happens, let your fingertips come apart and really push your palms out and away. Pulling those fingertips back towards your shoulders, pushing out and now down, down, down. And then we'll sweep those arms back up to shoulder height, okay? Keep your palms facing down. We're going to bend the wrist at one hand so those fingers are pointing up, and then bend the other wrist so that those fingers are pointing down, and then switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. And switch. And we're going to keep on switching. And you can maintain that pace, or you can speed up the pace a little bit, whatever works for you. Starting to feel little feelings in those shoulders, definitely in the forearms. Let's see if we can relieve the shoulders a little bit by bringing our wrists together as we continue to switch. Switch, switch, switch. Starting to bring your wrists together. All right, keep on switching as you bring your wrists apart. Yes. And shake, 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 shake it out. Whew. All right. So we got our shoulders and wrists a little bit warmed up here. I'm going to loosen the band on my watch because it's bothering me. Go ahead and grab your elastic band, our looped elastic band. And your elastic band loop might be a little bit bigger or smaller than mine. It might be a little bit of a higher resistance or a little bit less resistance. We're going to just move as far as we can in this next exercise. And it's not necessarily about trying to get the biggest movement possible. What we're trying to do is engage the muscles of the torso here. So hold on to either ends of your loop. Hold your arms down low. And then give that loop a little pull. And release. And pull. And release. And pull. And release. Let's do that 2 more times. Okay, and then bring your arms up to about shoulder height. Then we're going to do 5 pulls here. So pull and release. Yeah, pull and release. Again. And try to do that 2 more times. Okay, and then we're going to lift that band overhead as high as possible and pull and release and pull and release. Yes, really warming up these shoulders, getting all sides of the shoulder joint with these pulls. Last one, bring your elastic band down and then bring it back behind you. Right? You're going to hold on to it down below your pelvis like we started, but now it's back behind you. Stand up tall, get ready. It's going to be kind of a tough pull, so your shoulders are engaged. They're ready for that activity, that effort, and pull and release. Yes, pull and release. Pull, pull. 2 more times. Yes. Oh. All right. Go ahead and shake out your wrists, shake out your arms. You can put your elastic band aside. We'll come back to it in a little bit here. I love doing this, sort of throwing my arms around, getting my wrists and my elbows and my shoulders all moving, a little vibration here. And then we're going to warm up a little bit more the lower body because our legs are also connected to this torso as well. And we want to make sure we're kind of targeting, hitting all of these areas of our torso that can support us while maintaining a relative ease on the front here. So you might even rest one hand on your rib cage and one hand just below your belly button here as you lift up your heels and come up onto your tiptoes. And then lower back down. Yeah, we're going to do this several times. So lift up and try to lower slowly down. Right? We could just let our heels drop, but that's a different kind of exercise for maybe a different time in our lives. Right now we're trying to lift up relatively quick and then come down with control. Yeah. I like to have my hands on my body. It just sort of helps me turn inwards and kind of feel what's going on. I can imagine that they're holding me and supporting me as I do this exercise. It might also help to bring your arms out to the side for balancing purposes. Let's do a few more of these, really trying to bring those ankles forward as you lift up. It's really easy to let the ankle sort of flop out to the side. And it might be, impossible to have that control of getting your ankles to move forward, but we're just trying for now. Last one. Boom. Whoa. Okay. When your heels are down, go ahead and lift up the ball of one foot as high as you can. Your heels on the floor, and then lower that down, and then lift up the ball of the other foot as high as you can. Lower that down. And then again, first side. And then second side. And then let's do one more time on each side. Okay, and then let's see if we can find that same flexion in that ankle, the same shape in the ankle, while keeping our feet flat on the ground. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to bend our knees and let them move way forward of the ankles here. And then stand up straight. Let's do that again. So bend your knees and let them move way forward of the ankles. And then stand up straight. And let's do it again. And a few more times here. You might be able to really start to feel how your shins are engaging here. Maybe you're feeling a little bit of cramping in the ankles. We don't oftentimes exercise this movement in our ankles, though it is a really like supportive movement to be able to do. It supports us in our squats and walking up hills, staying balanced, sitting down, standing up. We'll do just like, let's do 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, can you bend your knees kind of like that and then walk around a little bit? So trying to keep those knees really bent, exercising this dorsiflexion in the ankles, really letting your toes spread on the floor as you step around. And you can take some sort of a circuitous route around and then back again to your elastic band. And when you get to your elastic band, grab that puppy here and put it around your legs. And you can put this around your legs either just below your knees or just above your knees. I think I'm going to start with my elastic band just below my knees. I'm going to put a little tension on the elastic band so my legs are a little bit wider apart than they were for the first time. Our first knee bends here, but I want to feel that resistance on the band. I'm going to bring my ankles into that dorsiflexion, knees really forward, and then start to walk around again, trying to maintain that tension on the elastic band. Okay. Again, moving those ankles, those toes, those knees, trying to maintain that tension on the band. Starting to feel some feelings, maybe now not just around the ankles, shins, and calves, but sort of creeping up the thighs and into the hips. All right, go ahead and monster walk your way back to your work surface. Yes. All right. Go ahead and stand up. You can bring your legs together. Shimmy that elastic band off. Set it to the side. We're going to do a couple of stretches here at the wall. So find yourself a space at the wall. It doesn't have to be a really large wall area of wall space. Just enough for your shoulder width will do. Start off by stepping away from the wall. Just a little further than arm's distance, right? And then turn to the right so that your left hand is here reaching to the wall, okay? And you're gonna lean into the wall here. And as you lean into the wall, you could do a couple like elbow bends and notice how as your torso gets closer to parallel with the floor, as you bend your elbow and you move closer to parallel with the floor, there's a little bit more engagement coming down the side of the body, maybe into your legs. Definitely feels heavier in the shoulder. But this is just kind of a neat illustration of how our orientation to gravity can really affect the engagement of our car. We're just going to keep that arm straight for now. Feet close together as possible. They don't have to be touching. As close together as possible. Reach the outside arm out and straight up. And then you might even bend a little bit over to reach towards the wall. And you probably won't touch the wall. We're just making like a crescent moon shape here with your body, and then sweep your arm back down. Let's do that again. And we'll do it again. Okay. We're going to expand upon that exercise, or that stretch. So the next time that you're reaching your outside arm out, up, and over, keep your feet where they are, but turn your chest so that you can reach across towards the wall. Swipe your hand down the wall, down towards the floor, and then out and up, and we'll go around again. And go around again. All right, some full moon stretches there. Next time you're reaching that outside arm out and maybe up towards that corner where the ceiling meets the wall across from you. Stay like that and then lift up the outside leg as well. So now you look kind of like a star. Hold that for about 3 seconds and then bring your arm and your leg down. We'll do that again. Yep. And we'll do that 3 more times. And as you're doing this, and have that brief pause in the shape, you might notice a little bit more that feeling of how like our legs and our arm are connected through the torso, and how all these stabilizing tissues of the torso are coming into play to help us assume this shape. And I just said a bunch of stuff there, so I'm going to do one more because I lost count. So, very good. The next time your arm and your leg are down, sweep that outside arm out and up and over. Reach across towards the wall. This time you can turn your feet towards the wall. And now you've got both hands at the wall here. And we're going to bend those elbows and then straighten them. Okay. Bend your elbows and straighten them. And we're going to do several of these. Again, kind of like we experimented there with one arm at the wall, you'll notice that as you bend your elbows, your body comes to an angle that's a little bit closer to parallel to the floor. And you might start to feel a little bit more of that torso engagement as your body changes its orientation in space. You'll also notice that your body feels a lot heavier in your shoulders. Right? You can make this exercise more effortful by walking your feet further away, so you're even closer to parallel to the floor when you bend your elbows, or you can make it more easeful by walking your feet closer to the wall, so you're not getting quite as parallel to the floor. So if this is like the first time you've done this kind of thing, push-ups at the wall, stand pretty close to the wall. If you're a pregnant person and you're doing this class and you're getting close to the end of your pregnancy, like there's really no need to have gravity pulling so much on the front line of your body. So standing close to the wall is perfectly sufficient. Let's just do 3 more of these. When you're finished, right, turn to the left so that your right hand is at the wall now. Feet relatively close together. Reach that outside arm out and up and over. Side stretch, sweep your arm back down. We'll do that 2 more times, finding that crescent moon shape. Stretching out the side body, those tissues in the side of the torso. We'll start to go all the way around. So reach out and up and over, and then reach across, keeping your feet where they are, but letting your chest turn. Reach down, out, and up, and over. Creating a big full moon shape with your arm in the air here. We'll go around one more time. And then see about finding that star shape. So the next time your arm is out and up, maybe reaching towards that corner where the ceiling meets the wall, across the room from you, lift up the outside leg, pause for 3 seconds, and then bring your arm and your leg down. We'll do that a few more times here. And we'll have an opportunity to come back to these stretches. And we'll have an opportunity to elaborate upon them if you like. Last one. Go ahead, bring your arm and your leg down, and you can step away from the wall and shake out your wrists. All right. Let's come back to the elastic band here. So we've got our elastic band in a loop. This time, put your arms inside of the elastic band, and you might have that elastic band like just below your wrists here, okay? And we're gonna put just a very small amount of tension on the elastic band. We don't have to be pulling super hard here. We're trying to find a position with our arms so that our wrists are stacked over our elbows, so that our forearms are pretty parallel with each other. We're gonna try to maintain that parallel position in the forearms as you lift your arms up, trying to maintain tension in the elastic band, parallel forearms, and then lower your arms down. Okay, let's do that again. Lift the arms up and lower the arms down. Let's do that one more time. Go ahead and relax a little bit. If you have a block, you can grab that block and place it near the front end of your mat here. Okay, I'll put it over here to start. If you don't have a block, don't worry about it. Just don't use the block. Put your left foot on the block, or maybe it's on the ground, whatever. Heel toe your right foot back. Okay? You can adjust this position as much as you like as we go through the movements here. We're going to try to combine two things together. So shift your right foot back as far as feels comfortable, right? Knowing you can make adjustments. Your toes aren't pointing totally out to the side, though they don't need to be pointing totally forward. We are going to face forward though. So as you turn to face forward in the direction your left toes are pointing, you might pivot that back heel a little bit and bend your front knee. And then straighten it. Yeah. Bend your front knee and straighten it. Okay, we're gonna add this exercise with the forearms to this movement with the knee. So get your arms in between the elastic band again, or inside the elastic band. Find your little bit of tension. Find those parallel forearms. Okay. Now bend your knee as you lift your arms up. You might not lift them so that they're perfectly straight. That's fine. Straighten your knee as you lower your arms down. This is a lot of stuff to think about. So we're just going to focus on doing this movement here. And you just breathe however you need to breathe to keep on breathing through this movement. We're not trying to coordinate our movement with our breath or anything. We're just trying to bend the knee and lift the arms. And keep those forearms parallel. Let's do one more. Last one. Okay. Go ahead and ditch the elastic band. You can put it off to the side. We're going to come back to it a little bit. Shift your weight into that front leg, the leg that's on the block, okay? Lift up the back heel and either step forward or kind of bounce yourself forward here so that you're balancing on the block or just balancing on one leg. And if you're balancing the block, you can totally tap that right toe down to help you stay balanced. Right? You can reach your arms out to the side, flail them around. If you're finding your balance is particularly challenged by this, try finding something in front of you that's not moving to look at, and that can oftentimes help. You can also move your whole situation closer to a wall and keep your hand or a finger at the wall. If you're finding this really easy, you could try like drawing some circles in the air with that hovering leg. And then go in the other direction. All right. Go ahead and step off of the block. Bring your foot back down onto the floor and have a little break here. Shake out those arms. You can shake out your legs a little bit. And I'm just curious, like if you have a block, grab that puppy. If you don't have a block, maybe you find a cracker box or something. But what if we tried this exercise that we were doing with the elastic band, instead of pulling, sort of squeezing something? So can you get the block in between your forearms here? This is going to help keep your forearms parallel so you know what that feels like. Give that block a gentle squeeze and then lift your arms up and then lower your arms down. Hey, let's try that again. And maybe you feel like you can lift your arms a little bit higher because we've got that block that's like kind of helping to keep things lined up the way we want them to. Or maybe it feels more like a stretch in those shoulders, giving this block a squeeze as opposed to pulling on the elastic. Maybe it still feels like just as like challenging and difficult as the elastic, but maybe in a slightly different way. Right? If you're a person who has 2 blocks, you could totally opt to do this when we're doing the knee bends on the other side. I just have 1 block with me today, so I'm going to go back to the elastic band. So go ahead and put your block on the floor. If you're using one, right? If you were using a cracker box for that forearm exercise, I don't think it's going to support your leg. So just keep your foot on the floor. If you've got the foam block or the yoga block, put your right foot on the block and heel toe that left leg back. And we're going to just practice bending the front knee, moving forward a couple times, giving those shoulders a little bit of a break before we introduce the elastic band again. Okay, let's introduce the elastic band, or like I said, if you wanted to use a block or your cracker box, you could totally do that instead. Finding those parallel arms. As you bend your knee, lift your arms up. Straighten your leg, bring your arms down. And we'll do this a few more times. Feel free to adjust if your legs feel like they're not quite in the right spot. Yeah. I'm going to try to do 2 more here. I'm getting really tired in my shoulders though, so we'll see. I might not be lifting as high as I was before. Whew. Last one. This is a really great shoulder stabilizing exercise. Go ahead and remove the elastic band, bend that front knee, lift up the back heel, either like step forward or you can do a little hop, hop, hop forward, and we'll balance. And same as before, if side is feeling like it's having a really hard time balancing today, you can, touch down with the outer foot or move yourself closer to a wall. If like balancing is like super easy for you on the block and like even swinging your leg around isn't that challenging, go ahead and look around, like look up at the ceiling, look over your shoulder, look down at the floor, look around. And if this still is too easy for you, you can try to close your eyes, but see if you can find a challenge here looking around. Especially if you're up on a block, it would be a bummer if that block were to flip while your eyes are closed. I don't think it will, but still, maybe try balancing with your eyes closed on the floor. We're going to stay here for a few more seconds. Feeling all those muscles, not just in our leg, mostly in the leg, but also coming up into our torso and our arms, helping to stabilize us in whatever sort of balance challenge you've chosen today. Right? Our core is a huge part of our ability to balance. Go ahead and step off the block, bring your foot down. Anybody who's had like any kind of abdominal surgery or even if you've gone through like a full pregnancy, you'll know that as this core area is compromised, the balance becomes a lot more challenged, right? And so by practicing our balance, we can develop the core, and doing all these other exercises are really going to help with that as well. So we're going to come back to our calf raises here. We're going to use the elastic band real soon. So if you want to just put it over your shoulder, you can do that, or you can have it on the floor and retrieve it later. Ooh, actually, scratch all that, grab your elastic band, and let's put it around our feet. Let's see what it's like to give our feet a little bit of resistance to work against in our calf raises. So I'm putting this elastic band around the palms of my feet, right? Not around my ankles, but around the palms of my feet. And I'm going to give it a little bit of resistance. So my feet might be a little wider than hip distance apart. No, that's okay. Okay. Now lift up into your calf raise, lifting your heels, spreading those toes, and then lower gently back down. And we'll do this several times, and you might, maybe you notice that the elastic band giving you something to push against might help keep your ankles moving forward, might sort of help you avoid that sort of buckling out to the side in the ankles. Maybe you're feeling just a little bit more of that calf engagement and how it wraps down into the foot around those ankles. Yeah. Right? Again, if balance is an issue, take yourself closer to a wall, put a hand at the wall. I know. Odd thing, calf raises in a class about core. As you're doing these though, can you start to feel how it's not just the lower legs, but these upper legs are working too? Maybe you even feel some of your glutes. The muscles of the glutes and the hip are directly connected to all of the skeleton and tissue of the torso of this midsection here. I mean, I think even the pelvis is part of that, right? Okay, let's do 3 more of these. All right, and then we'll do the knee bends. And you're welcome to keep the elastic band where it is for the knee bends if you want to, or you could bring the elastic band up around your knees, like just below them or just above them. I think I'm going to bring my elastic band just above my knees for these knee bends, trying to just keep a moderate amount of resistance on the elastic band as I bend my knees and have them go way forward over my ankles and then straighten them. Yeah, so we did this earlier. We're revisiting it again. You could alternatively do these exercises holding the block or maybe a pillow between your knees. Having the elastic band, something to kind of pull out against, is going to engage a little bit more of the muscles of the outer hip. Just having something to squeeze is going to engage a little bit more of the muscles of the inner thigh. That's great. The inner thigh is oftentimes something that a lot of us don't have a lot of engagement with. I'm kind of focusing on these outer muscles of the pelvis today. You can definitely make your own decisions. We'll do just 3 more of these. And then if you are using the block, we're going to switch back to the elastic band. So this is my 3rd one. I'm going to go ahead and stop. Grab your elastic band, either have it on your legs just above your knees, or if something about this causes like irritation, maybe in the IT band or something like that, this next exercise will totally work with the elastic band around your ankles. So way down here. Either way, right? Okay. So we've got some resistance on the elastic band, whether it's above your knees or around your ankles. Go ahead and shift your weight into one leg. Try to maintain the resistance on the elastic band as you slide the other leg back, behind, and across, and we're gonna do a curtsy. Yes, bend both knees, come back up, maintain the elastic band resistance, step out to the side, we'll do it on the other side. And curtsy. Yes, we're gonna go back and forth several times here, trying to maintain that resistance on the elastic band. If anything about this is feeling like a little tumultuous for you, you can definitely come back to the monster walks. This is a great exercise for balance, knee and ankle articulation. This is also great exercise if you're prenatal, like if you're pregnant right now and lunges are something you cannot do. This is probably something you can do. Yes. We'll go back and forth a few more times here. If you're doing your monster walks, just keep walking. Maybe do one more lap around the room before you come back to your workspace. Really feeling those hips, the muscles of the hips here, and how they are working to help you maintain the resistance on the elastic band, to help control your movement down and back up. One more time, one side, and then the other side. Walkers, walk on back, and bring your feet closer together. Shimmy off the elastic band. Move it off to the side. We're gonna come back to the wall. Take a little stretch break. Do those astrological crescent moon stretches again. Let's start with the left hand at the wall. Reach the outside arm out and up and over. Yeah. I really like to inhale as I'm lifting up here, just sort of using my breath to stretch out the side of my body even more. Ooh. These side stretches also make me yawn. Do they make you yawn too? Okay, once you've done about 3 of those crescent moon stretches, we'll do the full moon. So reach your arm out, up, start to reach across. This one takes a couple breaths for me. And we'll go around again. Well, really starting to articulate that upper back, stretching out between the shoulders. Okay. The back, the upper back, these are huge areas for core support here. Let's move into our star. So reach your outer arm out and up towards that corner where the ceiling meets the wall. Lift the outside leg up too. You could move in and out like we did the first time, or you could stay in this position. And if you like, you could even add a little elbow and knee pump to it. Bring your elbow and knee together. And then straightening out into your star. So now we're kind of like a twinkling star. Yeah. And last one. Bring your arm and your leg down. Sweep that outside arm out and up, over. We're going to reach across to the wall. Turn your feet to the face of the wall, and we'll do our push-ups again here. Bend your elbows, and then straighten them. I like to have my heels lifted while I'm doing my push-ups at the wall. I feel like it just gives me a little bit more of something to pivot on. But you might try keeping your heels on the ground, really stretching out your calves and finding that flexion in your foot rests. Let's see if we can do 5 more of these. Remember, you can always walk your feet further away to make it more challenging, or closer in to make it a little bit easier. 4, and 5. When you're finished, turn so that your right hand is at the wall. And we'll go through those astrological stretches again. So find that big crescent moon. Breathing into the side of your body. And then sweep your arm back down. Again. And again. And then we'll do the full moon. Reaching all the way across and then sweeping around, rounding that upper back, twisting the torso ever so slightly. Really starting to articulate that spine. I think there's a lot of situations in life where we can start to get really, really stiff in the back. So doing little movements like this to keep that part of our body flexible can be really important. Now let's move into our star. So you know you can move in and out of your star, you can move into this shape and stay, or you can do the elbow to knee and then reach. And no matter which one you're doing, you're going to really start to feel that connection through the torso to your elbow and knee, your arm and your leg. And I really feel it specifically on the outside as I'm doing these elbows to knees, these twinkling stars. I lost count, of course, so I'm going to just do one more. Good measure. Right. When you're finished, bring your arm and your leg down. Sweep that outside arm out and up and over. Turn to face the wall. All right. Walk your feet back and walk your hands down. We're doing a downward facing dog at the wall here. This is a really nice option. Especially if you're in the later stages of pregnancy. Right. Can you shift your weight into your left arm and reach your right arm down towards the floor and have a couple breaths into the side of your body? Again, working on using our breath here to create some movement in the rib cage and spine. We'll do that on the other side. So bring your right hand back to the wall. Reach your left arm down. And then bring your hand back to the wall and walk your hands back up the wall and shake out your wrists a little bit. Okay. All right, we're going to transition down towards the floor. And you could totally just get down onto your hands and knees however you like to, or you could move through a downward facing dog on the floor with me. Right? If you want to, you could do downward facing dog at the wall and then transition down to hands and knees from there as well. It's going to be really, really similar to if you're doing it on the floor. So either come to stand at the wall or stand at the head of your mat, right? If you're at the head of your mat, hinge at the hips and bring your hands down to the floor. You might bend your knees a little bit to get down there. Right, start to transition into your downward facing dog at the wall. If you're at the wall, a thing we just did. Once you get into your downward facing dog, right? If you're on the floor, you'll step your feet back. And you can like rock your hips from side to side or pedal your knees or pedal your heels down. Right? And then whether you're at the wall or on the floor, start to bend your knees. You might even lift your heels and then walk your hands in a little bit closer to your knees, or walk your hands down the wall towards the floor. And as you make this transition, you might also notice how we're making a transition in the way our body is oriented, our torso is oriented to the floor, and you might have also felt a little bit of that torso engagement there. Okay. When you get down onto the floor, let your hips come back towards your heels. You can come into a little child's pose here, have a break, a couple breaths. We'll go for another side stretch here. So go ahead and come back up to hands and knees and place your left forearm on the floor parallel to the front edge of your mat. Reach your right arm out in front of you and let your forehead come down towards your forearm here. And you can breathe a couple of breaths into the right side of your body. Okay. If you feel like you have a little extra space here, you might flip your left palm up. So the arm that your head is resting on, flip that palm upwards and then start to reach that arm in between your right arm and leg so that your shoulder and the side of your head comes down towards the floor. We found a little bit more of a thoracic twist, a little bit of a shoulder stretch. Similar to that shoulder stretch we did at the wall in downward facing dog, a little bit more extreme. So again, if you're a pregnant person, depending on how far along you are in your pregnancy, this may or it may not be the thing. You can do the first thing. Yeah. And no matter which variation of the side stretch you're in, walk your right hand back in front of your face, so that outstretched arm, back in front of your face, and use that arm to push yourself back up to the hands and knees position. And do a little wiggle. Wiggle that back around. Wiggle that torso around. Wiggle your shoulders and your hips around. We'll do it on the other side. So right forearm goes down onto the floor. Reach your left arm out in front of you. And you can bring your forehead down to your right forearm. Have a few breaths. And again, if you have more space, you can flip your right palm up and then slide that arm underneath your left armpit here. So now the right side of your head and your shoulder are on the floor. And have a couple breaths here. And just like last time, you'll slide your left hand back in front of your face, push the floor away to come back up to hands and knees. All right, we're gonna do a little bit more here on our knees, but we're gonna get off of our hands to give our wrists a little bit of a break because that's been a lot of like pushing against the wall, hands and knees stuff. If your knees are getting kind of tired of being on the floor, you could put a blanket or you could fold up your mat a bit and put that underneath your knees to make the ground a little softer for you. This is where we're going to use the block again. So like I said before, like if you don't have a block, you can totally just not use the block for this part. Though I find the block really, really useful for just feeling a little bit more of that engagement and that response in my body. So I'm going to take the block and I'm going to have it on its medium setting. You might notice like this is really skinny, right? This is a little bit wider, medium, and then this is really, really wide. I would say that's large, if you will. I'm gonna have it on its medium setting in between my ankles and shins here. I'm gonna give that block a little squeeze. And if you've been taking classes with me for a while, you've probably heard my guinea pig analogy here, my desire for a guinea pig. I don't have one, so I pretend that my blocks are guinea pigs. And I want to give it a gentle but firm squeeze. So like firm enough so that it can't get away, but not so hard that I hurt the guinea pig. I want to just give it like, a gentle and firm squeeze. Sink your tailbone down, or reach up through the crown of your head. This is our starting position, okay? And then you're going to pike at the hips here and let your bum move back towards your heels. Your bum does not need to touch your heels. Just go as far as you can and then come back up to the upright position, okay? We're gonna do this several times. And keeping our torso lifted is gonna bring most of the engagement here into our legs and hips, which is great. Great part of the torso to work on if we're trying to avoid the front. If you do have space and you wanna bring a little bit more engagement into the back, you could start to bring your hips back as you move your chest forward, bringing our torso a little closer to parallel to the floor, starting to feel that back torso engagement here. Again, this kind of just depends on how much space you have, what specifically you want to be working on, how much experience you have in these movements. I didn't instruct what to do with your arms, so like me, you might be kind of like, I'm not really sure what to do with my arms here. I'm just kind of like doing some things. The higher you lift your arms up, the more load you're going to be putting on the backside of your torso, so that's something to consider. We're just going to do about 3 more of these. Really feeling those hips again. So if you're using the block, this is like our opportunity to feel what it feels like to have something to squeeze when we're doing hip exercises versus something to pull against when we're doing hip exercises. All right? Awesome. Go ahead and move the block out of the way. Find your elastic band. We'll come back down to hands and knees for one last upper body, shoulder, core exercise. You're going to put your hands inside of the elastic band, right? Pin the elastic band to the floor with your hands. Start off with a little cat stretch. Push the floor away. Reach your spine up towards the ceiling. Release. I like to bring my right leg out to the side for this. So you can bring your leg out to the side. You can have your knee bent. You can have your leg straight. Whatever helps you feel like you've got some pretty good foundation here to grab the elastic band with your right hand. Bend your elbow as you pull. You're really like driving that elbow up towards the ceiling here. And you might even turn your head to look. And then release. Let's do that again. Pull and release. This is a pretty tight elastic band. You might find a looser elastic band, but this is a really great thing. Like really prep yourself for pulling something strong and heavy. We'll do one more. Nice. When you're finished, get your hand on the floor, get your knee underneath you. Push the floor away with both hands. Get a cat stretch in. A couple breaths here, reaching up towards the ceiling with your spine. And we'll do that on the other side. So you might have to resituate yourself with your hands here. You want to pin the elastic band to the ground with your right hand. I'm going to step my left leg out to the side here. Got the elastic band with my left hand and pull. And release. Strong pull. Yes. Everything has been building to this point. Let's see if we can get 2 more in. Pull. Feeling those muscles, not only around the shoulder blades, but also in the back. Whew. This is my last one. Get your knee back underneath you. Do yourself a cat stretch. A little spinal wiggle. And move your elastic band off to the side. You can unfold your mat if you had it folded up. Let's come down onto the side body here. It doesn't matter what side you're on. We're going to do this little stretch on both sides. So I'm going to bend one elbow here, my lower elbow to support my head, though you could totally use a block or a pillow here. Reach that top leg down towards the bottom edge of your mat. Your bottom leg is still bent. Reach the top arm up towards the top end of your mat. We're getting a big side stretch, kind of like those crescent moons. Have a couple breaths. Ooh, you might yawn. And sweep your leg in front of you as you reach your arm behind you. And have a couple breaths. And then sweep your leg behind you as you reach your arm in front. Find that big side stretch again. And then bend your knee and sweep your arm back down to your side. You can have a little moment here. I think I'm going to wiggle out my wrist a little bit, wiggle my fingers. And then transition to the other side. And you could do like a roly-poly bug, roll over onto the other side, or you can press yourself up and switch flippity-flop on your mat, however you like it. When you find that side lying position on the other side, reach your top arm overhead, that top leg down, big side stretch. Sweep your leg in front as you reach your arm behind you. Maybe feeling a stretch in your hip now or across your shoulder. Feeling the way your torso has to kind of accommodate this odd shape for your breath. Let's try the other side. Bring your leg behind you as you reach your arm in front of you, and keep on breathing, and just notice how that feeling of the breath has kind of changed now that we've switched sides, and the way your body moves around it, where your body finds space. Even breathing is an activity that engages with the core. Go ahead and come back to the original side stretch. And then relax. Bend your knee, stack your legs, sweep your arm to your side. If you're a side liar, this might be where you come to stay. If you're a back liar, you could come onto your back and again, shake out those wrists a little bit more. Maybe shake out the legs a little bit. Whatever thing is your thing. I got some weird things. And then come into a rest. And no matter what level of experience you're at in this class, I'm sure that some of these exercises, after their repetitions and after their progressions, started to feel a little bit challenging, and that is excellent. And then this is an excellent time to give your body the opportunity to recover from those challenges. And the recovery is where our body starts to adapt, build strength, learn skills. So even though it might feel like we're not really doing anything right now, this is one of the most important parts of the practice. See if you can slow down your breath a bit. You might be just sort of dwelling in this moment of rest. Or maybe you're sort of noticing the way that even in rest, the tissues of your torso are moving and stretching and making space for your breath. Or maybe you can feel some movement from your digestion. And if you have some extra time today, you could maybe grab your cell phone, set a timer for yourself to rest for another 5 minutes. You're starting to feel like you're ready or it's time to continue on to the rest of your day. You might start to pay attention to sounds that are happening around you. Maybe it's the hum of your computer fan, or maybe you're hearing some sounds that drift in from outside of the room. If your eyes are closed, you can start to open them, just sort of scanning the room, maybe looking across the ceiling or across the floor. And as you do that, you can make little wiggly movements in your body to just gradually prepare yourself and your body to transition from the rest back into the rest of your day. Ta-da!